Hello and welcome. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. I'd like to thank our sponsors at Procyon Partners. Procyon, one of the top 50 fastest growing companies in the nation. They specialize in employee benefits, wealth management, and retirement planning. President Sean Rabinowitz, proud supporter of our podcast network and everything we do. Green Street Trust International, owned and operated by Rennell Jump and UConn legendary men's basketball player Jake Voskuhl. They specialize in tax plans for businesses large or small. They will save you money or get you a big fat return on your taxes. To schedule your free strategic tax planning session today, go to www.greenstreettrust.com. Pete Finch and the Finch Law Firm is located in Bridgeport, Connecticut. If you've suffered any type of personal injury, slip and fall, a car accident, your mother-in-law ran you over with her car, your wife got angry one night and decided to stab you, the Finch Firm is for you. Pete has won legal battles all across the state of Connecticut. He will go to war to get every dollar you deserve in compensation. You just have to remember, in a pinch, call Finch or go to his website, thefinchfirm.com. Dynamic Human Performance is owned and operated by UConn legendary running back Andre Dixon. He trains boys and girls of all ages, all sports. He has a boot camp program 7 days a week, 6 a.m. You want to get in shape, you go to Andre. He has an athletic development program where he trains boys and girls in the sport of their choice from the ground up, helps them reach their full potential, be the best they can possibly be. Andre has sent boys and girls to college on scholarship for all different types of sports. To work with the best, he has a 5,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility in Hartford, Connecticut. Go to www.dynamichumanperformance.com. All right, and here we are for, that didn't work. Broker Than You. No, we didn't. That's what I wanted. Broker Than You. And we have the king of real estate in Erie, Pennsylvania himself, Mr. Laban Marsh with the Fu Manchu. And, yeah, well, everyone comments on your facial hair changes week to week. It's amazing.
I had a shit. It does. It's like a chia pet on my face.
I love it. I love each week it's different. We never know what to expect.
And before we introduce Fresh, I showed up to Mackenzie had a volleyball tournament in Sandusky, Ohio, a couple weeks ago that my wife took her to. And that's Cedar Point. And then this weekend, I took her to Cleveland. And so I had not met the coach, but Mackenzie comes up to me after her morning games and she said, "Hey, my coach walked up to me and said, 'Do you know that guy in black? Because he keeps yelling your name and he's recording you.'" And she's like, "Yeah, that's my dad." And he says, "That is the coolest mustache I have seen." But he was a little nervous at first. He thought maybe I had a Jolly Rancher tattooed to my palm.
Yeah. With the Fu Manchu, absolutely.
Yeah.
And entrepreneur extraordinaire, the CEO of Fresh Fold Laundry Co. in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, a high-end laundry service. Fresh himself, Nedvonne Young. Great to see you.
Freshy fresh.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you guys had a great show last week and provoked some interesting discussion. And I picked some questions that our viewers had, and we'll see what you have to say about them. We had talked about the new graduates, people coming out of college expecting certain kind of jobs, may not want to work as hard and have everything handed to them. What would you say are the biggest skill gaps that you see with people coming out, as far as the gaps related to your workforce expectations and strategies within your workforce?
I mean, I don't mind taking it fresh to start here, because to me, and I think back,
because you're different with real estate. It's got to be there's
well,
got to be a big drop off sometimes.
but I think the biggest thing is this interaction and personal skills of communication,
which lacks.
It's and honestly, I think when I think back to being an athlete, though, like you'd have to get interviewed on TV if you were a decent enough athlete, local sports and things like opportunities to speak at Kiwanis, if you get an award, like those different things as athletes, it really helps you get comfortable being uncomfortable. But it's amazing how it really comes down to confidence, I guess, because if you meet somebody, they shake. We've been talking about handshakes lately with a few different people, and like a good solid handshake, look somebody in the eyes, be able to carry on a conversation with critical thinking, whether it's current events, sports, or something else. So really communication, like face-to-face interaction, but then also communication with our phones. And, I get criticized. You didn't respond quick enough. It's like, listen, I am trying to focus on who I'm with
instantaneously.
Yeah. So I think so much of it really comes down to communication and then expectations, because one of the things I heard recently, the biggest challenge for these kids getting NIL money is that they might not make that much money again professionally. Like,
very true.
I mean, to make 150,000 on the NIL, like it's not easy to find a 6-figure job, and it's not always necessary. Live below your means. But I think so much of that plays into kind of graduating college, regardless of your degree. Like, what are your interpersonal skills, and are you able to speak intelligently to a potential boss, clientele? And it hits you quick, right? I mean, it hits you quick. And especially if you're not an entrepreneur or the business owner, just like a coach, you have to take orders from the boss or your manager. And we know enough coaches, though, man, these kids are so disrespectful. They don't listen. They don't take heed to authority. So there's somewhere in there where you got to be confident, but you also have to be humble and know that you are not the boss yet. And so I don't know if that answers the question for young people graduating and
no, it does.
Trying to help them in the business world, because listen, the business world is sales, selling yourself. And so everybody wants to talk about your athletic accomplishments. So, let that be your foot in the door, but then you have to be able to carry on conversation. And if you don't know, become a very good listener.
Absolutely. And I wholeheartedly agree with you. There is a disconnect with this generation in interpersonal communication that doesn't exist. They can go on their phone all day and text and do it that way. But if you want to get to one face to face, they'll just stare at you.
And I think
they don't talk.
And even with text messages, though, like how many times do you get a text and it's like, wow, I can't really tell what the tone of voice is in this text. Is this guy upset or is this, the personality? So I think, again, and to me in business, you really need to get permission for how to communicate. Like, do you prefer email? Would you prefer a call?
Correct.
Do you mind text messages? Like, and again, that goes back to just asking questions and being curious. We talked about that. Stay curious. Like, do not think because you were a D1 athlete and won some championships that you know everything. That is the biggest fault of any young person, and old heads know it. You know what I mean? As soon as you think you know it or have the life by the huevos, it is, So be humble, listen, and be grateful, and then just put your nose to the grindstone like you did in the sports. If you work hard and pay attention, more opportunities will come.
Fresh?
Yeah. Well, what I would say, in terms of the kind of skills that they are either having or lacking, I think we have to. What I look at this, if you the newer generation from a standpoint of like we talk about this before in terms of knowing your personnel, right? So we in our workforce, and we being, say, employers, right? We haven't been in a position to be able to give people jobs or been in the workforce for some time and understand how things work. when you're in a position of power, you can give people jobs and you call the shots and you want things to go a certain way. You have an idea of how you want things to be and certain things you're looking for. So, all right, we're kind of considered more old school now. So we're looking for someone who can do some of the basic things like time management, right? Just being somewhere on time and making sure you can do those things. For one, knowing when to speak, right? Having just kind of echoing some of what Laban said, just knowing when to speak, not speak out of turn, understanding that like you have an opportunity, you have an opportunity, right? That someone is affording you, right? It's different from and you may have earned the opportunity over the other candidates, but it's just like anything else. You earn the opportunity to go to college, right? And then you come in as a freshman. That doesn't guarantee you that you're going to start right away, right? So sometimes you have to go up the ranks and you have to develop. You might have some basic skills and basic things that allow you one day to be that starter, to be very, capable and be pretty good. But there are certain things you may be missing along the way. So the goal for a lot of people in positions to bring people on is that we want to see that you have these basic things, and that just like how we like our athletes, who want athletes to be coachable, we want you, the employee, to be coachable, right? Someone who has ability to just be, hey, I have a way of doing things, but I'm willing to learn other ways, or I'm willing to try your way and see if your way is better than the way that the way that I'm doing it. And again, we don't mind you being bold enough to say, hey, I did it your way, right? And it came out this way, but I actually also practiced it my way, and it seemed to be a little bit more efficient, or I save you some time. Can I show you the difference? See, there's a difference between, no, I'm not doing it your way, and I just did it my way, and it worked better, than saying, hey, I did it your way. But if you're forward thinking, you go, okay, I'm gonna do it your way, but then you also do it the other way and say, hey, this is this, so you can show the comparison. So people in positions of power that are humble too, right? They know, like, oh, I'm not afraid to learn something from someone else. So just kind of laying out, not going deep into the woods, but being coachable, having practical skills, knowing when to speak, presenting yourself as someone that has those basic skills, because we want someone that we can kind of plug and play. We want you to have certain things that you could do for the position that we bring you in, especially if you already have to have the hard skills to do it. But if it's something we kind of training you and teaching you how to do a thing, we just want to know you're coachable. We want to know those things. So I think it depends on where you are. If you're in a position to where, all right, I am an expert, Mark, I come out, I've done internships, and I'm coming out and I have experience doing this thing, and I could just come in and plug and play. But if you got to come in and I'm placed in a position where I have to learn, you need to make sure you're bringing certain things to the table to show that I'm willing to learn and I'm willing to be teachable, opposed to, all right, I already got it all figured out. So you just, those are the basic things. I think some basic skills. We can go into a lot of hard, tangible skills that you want people to have, but I think those couple things are very important to have.
Without a doubt. And if I may, I want to give a nod to Nick Rapone, who recruited me. He recently retired as the Tampa Bay Bucks safeties coach, but he was somebody who made sure you were vicariously taking mental reps on the sideline. Like, I want you, if you're the number 2 DB, like, you better be watching and taking mental reps with the guy in front of you. And so I have my daughter, she started taking her real estate classes actually last night, and I am going to have her, she turns 18 in April, so I'll have her take her real estate test, and I'm going to have her ride around with my mother, who is the GOAT, and learn vicariously through my mother. Levi did it. Lucas did it. I did it. A lot of agents sit in her passenger seat. She's getting close to where they might be driving her instead. Not that she's a bad driver, but just to be around, and you start to pick up, like, when she says certain terminology and things, you can associate it with the scenario, right? And so if you're just sitting there playing on your phone and not vicariously learning from the person in front of you, shame on you. And we learn that in sports, right? The mental reps. And then when you get home, like I talk to investors about this, I go through and evaluate property. I don't have to necessarily go and physically go inside the property. With the technology today, I can probably take a preview online of the home and then evaluate based on the rent rolls and the income, all of that stuff. So taking mental reps, it's same thing as the rule of 10,000. Like the more you do, the better you get. And so you better be able, just like my son Drew is a freshman. Bro, I know you want to play more varsity, but when you're on the bench, take mental reps. Do the things that coach says, great job to the guy on the floor. And when he's yelling at the kid on the floor, take a note and don't do that. You know what I mean? There's nothing worse than you being the man behind the guy that started it, and now you run the wrong play because you weren't paying attention. It is the exact same in business. So again, surround yourself with the best people and do what they do. And to Fresh's point, my mother is humble enough to know she doesn't know everything. And a lot of times we get stuck in, hey, this is the way I've always done it. And so any mentor higher up needs to be humble enough to accept that, listen, there's young people. Like Mackenzie knows social, like in and out. So I'm going to have to leverage her skills as a young person to what are people really looking for. And the last story I'll tell is my wife and I had a couple babysitters that were college age about a decade ago. And so we asked them, like, hey, if you're looking for a mortgage broker or a real estate agent, what do you do? And they would go to Instagram, hashtag Erie real estate or hashtag Erie. And it's like nobody was tagging anything like that. But that's how this younger generation was searching. And so if there's a disconnect with what your business does and what people are looking through, you have to go, and I go back to last week, you have to stay relevant. Know what people are looking for. And I think Zillow was a little bit of that in real estate, and it's starting to shift a bit. But being relevant, understanding what's going on, and living vicariously through the ones that are doing it right.
And I always do that too. There is a Erie real estate group that I tag on Instagram every time I post your show.
Well, it's because you're the best podcast host in the universe, dude.
Yeah, there's few
Goes
of us.
without saying.
There's few of us. What is the toughest thing to train when you're dealing with a new employee? You have a new employee coming in, there's some sort of training involved. What is the most difficult thing you find when you're training them for obviously your profession and then obviously Fresh's profession that is difficult for them to pick up or understand?
The hardest part is, and I tell people all the time, like there is training, there's contracts that we want to go through to help you understand it. But how do you practice getting shot out of a cannon? You have to get shot out of a cannon. So there are some things where I don't disagree. Like I can give you some training, but at the end of the day, you're going to be face to face with somebody, and that's your chance to get shot out of the cannon. And so again, I go back to live vicariously, try to learn from the best, utilize those same things, and then put your personality to it. And so the training from my perspective are crossing T's and dotting I's on the contract. But most of our business is relational. And so you have to communicate. You have to stay on top of things. You have to manage your time management, coordination with vendors. And so to me, there's a little bit more to it. But yeah, I think that I'm trying to hit the nail on the head. Swinging and missing.
You're right. No, you're right. Fresh, what would you say as far as training people for your job? What is the most difficult aspect that you find getting into them so they do it the way you want it done?
Well, I mean, I'll take it a step further than that. Just before that, just finding good people, right? To even get to the point before the training part, because there's not a shortage of people, right?
No,
there's more. There is. It's becoming more and more difficult to find really good talent, right? And people.
Very true.
Because people have a lot more options these days to do things. And when you have the pool of people to do certain jobs, right? When it's become laborsome jobs and stuff like that, sometimes we have people who have a higher kind of esteem for what they feel that they should be doing, even though they're just starting out. And if they didn't need the opportunity, the real question is, so why are you coming to me for an opportunity if you don't really need this opportunity? But if you do need this opportunity, I'm going to need you to be, as we mentioned earlier, be humble and be willing to learn the way that I'm showing you how to do things. So that's first and foremost. Now, once you get past that stage, that's where you kind of, I think, and I'm gonna shift it a little bit with the I'm gonna kind of be on topic, but off a little bit with what I'm gonna say here. So when people first come to a job or they first come into a thing, it's not really them, right? They send their representative, right? You send your representative to go, like, your rep is the person who is on paper and who makes nice during an interview, right? But when you get the real person, when they kind of show up on day one, they show up for this training. And then you wonder, like, okay, this is not the person that's on paper. This is not the person I interviewed. So I think us as being in a position of power and influence, we have to encourage people to be more 100% themselves so that you get the real person, so that you know what day one, okay, here's where deficiencies are, here where I can kind of, I'm willing to deal with these deficiencies, opposed to finding it out. And you just either, some people, you spent money to bring this person in, or you definitely have, time put in. And then now you're like, do I really want to start over? So you try to make the best of it. So I would say, though, you get to those, you put yourself in those positions, that's kind of difficult. So I would say that's probably, you need to put more time into that on the front end before you even get to the part where you need to go ahead and start talking about the training. And then what's the most difficult from the training. I think you have to, I'm a root person. So you're having difficulty with somebody in the training process for someone to pick up, is because at the same time, from your systems for hiring haven't adapted to this new age and how to bring in people and how to have people be more forthcoming about about what they're getting themselves into. And then for you, who you are allowing to come into your house, and, if you will, or come into your business and understand the rules and regulations. I think having like operation manuals of some sorts, or having things that, like, look, and you want to kind of, the front end, you need to be making sure you are in a position that people can study and be able to express that this is how we do it. Like, this is the Marsh way, all right? Or this is the Freshful way. That needs to be like coming in like, okay, well, they do things this way. Once you understand that, and then you need to encourage them to have the mindset of, this is what I can bring to the table to assist the Marsh way of becoming or working more efficiently, right? And so those things are important. So I would say that is, I kind of lean to that. I know I didn't really kind of hit the question the way that you put it, but I think that's more important, that's to be put out front, that, like, you gotta crawl before you can walk, right? So I need people to understand, listen, like, this is the crawl part before we start getting to the walking, which eventually we want people to run with what we give them so that we can be more efficient.
And so I'm gonna try to be a good teammate and button that up for you, because what I heard and circled was authenticity. Like the paper, right, versus you. Like, you need to bring that authenticity and not try to match yourself to the paper or whatever else. Just be authentic, which is true about these podcasts, which I love. And again, Steve, you're amazing. But one of the things you talked about to start, and you rolled it back, was the good people. And Jim Collins, probably about a decade ago, because he got shut down, or they criticized him after the recession, but he had a great book called Good to Great. And one of the things he talked about was a bus. Yeah, getting the right people on the bus, but then getting them on the right seat. And I've had a great example where I had my first property manager came on board as a licensed agent, and he called me one day. It was about a decade ago, after my trip from Aruba, and he's like, "Dude, I'm done." I'm like, "I'm sorry, what?" He's like, "Yeah, I can't handle it. The owners don't appreciate me. The tenants don't care. He's like, I don't want to leave the company. I just want to focus on sales. And so we moved his seat from property manager to salesperson. And in that time period, he became one of our top salesperson, and he's still on the bus. So it's one of those things where that's what I heard, from you, Fresh. Get good people. And if they are good people, find a seat. Hey, listen, I don't care if you have to do some remod to the bus to extend it and create seats, and be the person, be the employee that creates a new job title. Like, be so valuable, just like when they need you on the field, be so valuable that they create a new role for you. You know what I mean? And then it's hire slow and fire fast. And that's something, again, I don't know if that's Kiyosaki or Dave Ramsey, but I've heard it many times. Hire slow, try to find the best people, but fire fast. When you know it's not good, Fresh, you mentioned maybe they can get better. It's like, no, it's just like a spouse, dude. If they're doing something, they're not going to change once they're married. Okay. And the last one, and I appreciate you mentioned the Marsh, because what you're talking about is family, right? Family on three. Like, you have to, our brand is how we treat people. And I was thrilled. We had a client in from Las Vegas who's from this area, but he invests with us. He invests and we manage his property. And my property manager said to me, one of the things he loves is that he knows we're not going to lie to him. How is that not just standard, right? Like, the fact that we've got clients that some professionals aren't honest with them, right? And we know this. We know those people. And yet I think, Fresh, that's where for us and the Marsh, quote, brand is family. And so what we're going to do is we're going to treat you like family. And that doesn't mean we get away with anything. Like, my dad was a disciplinarian. And so to be a part of the family, you got to live and believe the way we do to a certain extent. So I think all of those things, trying to button that up for you as a good teammate that we are together, man. I mean, you are right on point. Getting the right people, you know what I mean? Being authentic and true to yourself, and go ahead and saying, listen, I don't know everything, but I know a few things. If you trust me and I trust you, we can do some big things. But you got to build and earn that, dude, just like respect. It has to be earned, never given.
Yeah. So just to kind of add to that before you move on, Steve, is I would add to that is the onus on, again, the people of power. You have to create that environment that these new people feel comfortable,
right,
from the jump, that it's okay for you to be authentic, right. Whether and I get, like, whether you are whether we choose you to be with this company or not, we need you to be authentic from the time you walk into the door. So if you create that kind of environment from the time you meet the person, talk on the phone, Zoom call, or whatever it is, you make sure you're as authentic and that environment is inviting for them to be that way. And, kind of, again, touching on some of the, again, going back to the Good to Great book, right? They just they focus on the person first, and then like the people first, and then they focus on, like, the facts, right?
Activities,
or your tactics, or or as a professional. So I've interviewed people before and said, look, I love your attitude, the way that things, like, your skill sets are not where I need them to be, because this is what I need to bring on right now. But I'm going to keep your information. I'm going to do this. Or I know somebody who you would be great for right now, but I just don't have the capacity to have you. Right. But this is how I operate. This is how I operate. I encourage a lot of people to operate that way, that we should always be looking to be of service in some way. Yes. So, and they talk about this, like, just, I can't remember where I got it from, but when you are interacting with someone, right, especially in a relationship, right, with your spouse, it's great for you if you're in a relationship with your spouse. When you are interacting and you feel like you're having communication issues, or to avoid them in the first place, is you need to first seek to understand before you seek to be understood. So if I'm seeking to understand what this person brings to the table, who this person is, I'm seeking to understand you as a person first and foremost, and then what skill sets you have, and I'm evaluating. I'm seeking to understand first before it's like, hey, this is the job, this is what it is, this is what we're offering here. Can you do it or not? Right? Like that's how some people are. So then people get into this mode of like, okay, like I'm trying to win the prize, I'm trying to win the position. So okay, so now you pivot to be this thing, opposed to, hey, let's just, who are you? And then what do you bring? Okay, dang, you have all of these skills. Okay, then now, okay, well, I think I could fit you in here. But and the reason why I push back in a little bit and say that is something over time that you get to have that luxury that you can kind of do that sometimes. Sometimes it's just like I got one position, right? I only got one position, and it's kind of what I need to do. So it's hard. It's a balance. So yes, you want people to be authentic, but at the same time, we have to open the door to say, hey, this is what I want you to be this way, and then I can offer as much as I can, but I can't guarantee you anything. You know, just but I'm going to be authentic too, and I want you to be the same way.
And I think what that makes me think of immediately was Mackenzie and I met with the volleyball coach from Fredonia. You know what I mean? And Mackenzie's been a middle in high school. She's 5'4". Most middles are 5'10", but she can jump all right, so she can hang with them. But we're sitting there talking about, and the coach looks at her and says, listen, I don't know if you're a middle in college. And I think, Mackenzie's always been a middle. So, but it's like, hey, listen, open your mind. He knows this guy's professional. And then when I said to him, well, she also pole vaults, he says, really? That's good arm strength. That's good arm movement. Like these coaches think different than the athletes realize sometimes. And so it's like, hey, Kens, he knows you can swing. He might see you as an outside. You're not a defensive specialist. Love you. You get a few good passes, but you could be a great middle. So I think, Fresh, to your point, if somebody that has a lot of experience, especially in personnel, says, hey, I know what you have been, but I think you have the opportunity. And this is where I went into UConn as a safety. Like, I didn't know if I was going to play corner, safety. Like, hey, do you want on the field? Yes. Then we need you at safety. I am a safety. So, like, you have to be willing to step outside that box of what you think you are great at, because somebody with a little better knowledge and experience might say, hey, you don't even realize that you're going to be awesome here. And now, Fresh, going back to a good employee, if that person believes you, respects you, trusts you, I'm going full tilt. And let's see what happens. I think that is the biggest thing, is a barrier, because they have this perception of who they've always been, whether it was in middle school or high school or even college. It's like, do not be afraid to pivot, but bring that same level of audacity, authenticity, intensity, and just try it. Try it. Don't be afraid to try something new. You never know what you might love.
Absolutely.
Or be really good at.
Absolutely. And right now we are going to jump to a word from a couple of our sponsors. Down south, we have the Trench Mob, run by Julius Williams in Decatur, Georgia. He trains offensive and defensive linemen. They compete in 5v5 tournaments and college showcase camps across the country. Julius has sent kids to schools like Florida, Florida State, Miami, Tennessee, Clemson, Georgia, Alabama, just to name a few. We have the Trench Mob podcast every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. If you want your kid to go to college and play Division I football and be trained by the best, you go to the Trench Mob. To contact them, go to www.battleofthetrenches.com. Nedvonne Young owns Fresh Fold Laundry Company down in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. It's a high-end laundry service. They wash, dry, and fold your clothes for you. They have a pickup and drop-off delivery service, so you can have your laundry done in the comfort of your own home without ever leaving. You put your laundry in a clear plastic bag, put it out, they pick it up, everything is done, wash, dried, and fold, and it is dropped off to you within 48 hours. They offer an expedited service as well. They have an online subscription model. You can also book online to schedule your pickups. They have deals for college students. So if you're in college, wash
We're all muted. We're all muted. We're all there. We go. We were all muted there.
I hear you now.
Sorry, it's myfreshfull-laundry.com. It deleted that last part. I forgot.
Yeah, no problem.
In the flesh.
But yes, so one of the other questions that we got was, because we talked about it quite a bit last week, was AI. Laban, have you implemented AI into your business at all?
Have we talked about this yet, or is this because no? All right.
No, we talked about AI. We just didn't talk about
and it probably was from that show. Yeah. But listen, so I did use it to prepare a description of a home that I listed probably a month or two ago. But
it wrote it for you?
It wrote it for me, and then it gave me stylistic options. Yes. Right? It was rather interesting. I don't remember you
can do it in different tones.
Yeah, right. So that was really cool. But I had my hair blown back when I inquired through ChatGPT about one of the business I owns that somebody might want to buy. And so I simply put in data, no names attached, just data from the business.
Yep.
And I was pleasantly surprised with the process.
Let's spit it out.
Just being data, like they asked business related questions as far as debt service and income and revenue. And it just kept asking me. And so I found it to be extremely valuable for specifically, and I don't know if this is a concern from a professional perspective, but it's something that I also could have done through an accounting firm for a business valuation, right?
Sure.
But the data is out there to where if you just straightforward know your numbers, which we've talked about before in business, and you know how things operate, like data is data, and it's going to spit it out for you unbiased.
Yeah.
For the most part, right?
100%.
That's the beauty of data. And so I was pleasantly surprised by not only the information I gleaned from it, but they give you, again, would you like me to draft you a letter for this proposal?
How would you like this put out? Yep.
Like, honestly, I was, and I don't know if I should be scared or impressed, because clearly this is it is already changing. It's like the internet of the 90s. Like, AI is going to be implemented. And if you're not implementing it, you're missing out. And then the final story to AI. So yes, use ChatGPT, especially for questions that you might pose to an attorney or an accountant, see what you get. But I was in Cleveland at the Huntington Convention Center getting breakfast and coffee, and you literally set these items on a mat. They scan them and you pay, and the ladies just watch and make sure you're not stealing anything.
Yeah.
But I mean, between facial recognition, and then I also talked to a guy, I will continue the story and it's all relevant. I'm standing next to one of my daughter's teammates' dad, and this was the first tournament. He's got this little camera perched way up high, and we're talking, and told me where he's from, Bradford. I don't know but anyways, a little town, and there's literally one corporation, Zippo, right? In that town. And so I jokingly said, oh, at least you got Zippo. And we're talking, and he's telling me about this program where once the game is over, he will download the video into a program that will spit out, points that you won, who got the point, the set, like all of this data. And then I'm like, so what do you do professionally? He's like, oh, I'm an IT guy for Zippo. And I'm like, oh, there it is. But dude, I mean, like the fact that his high school coach gets to take the video, and then if he wants to see number 11 with their, outside kill from the right side, 0.17, boom, you just click on it. So I feel so dumb when I talk to people like that, but I am so thankful that people like that exist to make life so much easier. And what's crazy is I was struggling just to wrap my head around it, and this dude probably could have written the program in an hour. So hire really smart people, dude. And a lot of these guys that are really smart and have good jobs, they're willing to help little volleyball programs and athletic programs. So if you're one of those resources that has, capabilities to help these smaller programs, please continue to do that. And thank you. I wish Chris is his name. I don't know. He probably doesn't want to be out here on a 30,000 viewer podcast, but he's a great guy. His daughter, here you go. His daughter's a really good volleyball player, wants to play beach. Addison. So if anybody's looking to recruit beach volleyball players, Addison from Bradford, there's a little plug that might not make Chris feel as bad that I just disclosed all he's doing. All right, next.
Fresh, what about you? Have you been able to implement AI, and what would you say you've been able to do with it?
Yeah, I've been able to implement AI in the biz. Use AI all the time, and just kind of like in the different businesses and different things.
Right.
Like Laban mentioned, like you could definitely get it. Like what you did was a tip of the iceberg. You can develop your own AI. You can develop literally. You could take information. I could develop a Laban AI, right? That would know and act very similar to some of the things you would do from just kind of like business moves and stuff you do. Like not necessarily like, again,
personality.
You're going to use a human component, but it goes like, it would take trends and things that you would like, certain business things you would do. Like you could put in your risk tolerance, you could put in all of this stuff, and it would just kind of put it together. And then it can answer questions and things for you, and put stuff together. Like that's how AI works. So in my business, in the different depending on which one. So different businesses, you incorporate it to do something. Simple things like it could draft certain emails to get back to and respond to
very easily
for people. You can do it to help and again with some of the things that we've discussed in terms of some of the production for the show. Like I use AI to help in doing some of that. Like I have the core ideas and things like that, but then it's like, okay, how would you take some angle? Like what's some different ways to approach it? Like, you have the debate model, you have the kind of like the Q&A model. There's different ways you could use it, right? So you could use it with different things. And then to kind of cap that all off and tell you how invested that we are in AI. So this actually started out my wife's brainchild. So we actually officially launched. We have an AI agency called the Gilded Edge AI. And we have an AI agency which we're assisting. We're starting off assisting nonprofit organizations and helping to implement AI in their business and help to help improve their nonprofit in terms of their donors and how to grow the
like fundraisers, events,
the funds and things like that to operate and for them to be more effective and efficient nonprofits. So that's how invested in AI I am. I have an AI agency. We have an AI agency spearheaded by mine. So that's awesome. Yep.
Yeah, make sure you talk to Razul about it because that would be great for his nonprofit. And I know 2 other nonprofits that he works with that would probably have interest in it because they desperately need it because they don't have the manpower. And a lot of them are doing it and they don't get paid that much. So AI would be a tremendous help and make them much more efficient. Another question that was brought up was, we also talked about AI. What would you say are the physical limitations of AI? Because there's energy constraints, and there's grid capacity. There's certain things that it can't do that people can do on different levels. What would you say to that?
Well, I mean, I'll take it. So AI, it will never be. It will always lack the human component, right? It can make decisions, it can process things as fast as possible, but you're still going to need a human component. So when people are worrying about like AI is taking jobs and whatnot, but it's taking certain jobs that are kind of like become inefficient. And this is nothing new. Technology, right? Just look at AI is just a form of technology. Technology has
industrial revolution.
It's taken jobs throughout history and is going to continue to do so. So, right? So it used to be a ton of horses. People used to have horse and carriages and, you know, buggies and pull things around. That's why in real estate, Laban can understand and relate to this. Sometimes you have these properties that have carriage houses, right? So it's like you have these carriage houses that were converted to, some people convert them to garage or to another, like, you know, kind of smaller domicile, like something livable, all these things. And they're all throughout the country, especially around up and down the East Coast, where that was a thing, right? But then once you started to have, engines, and you started to have things that can, that work better, then you just kind of you move to the next thing. So that's how that works. And I would say AI is no different than what's happened. So now you have something that you could use, right? Just like how we used to go to the libraries to open an encyclopedia and get stale old information. They wanted you to get a new encyclopedia like every other year, whatever.
No, he's
Now
right.
it's an update.
They were always updated.
What was that? Britannica.
Britannica. Yep.
Essentially,
they
were salespeople. Britannica salespeople, dude.
Yeah. So
much like vacuum salespeople.
Exactly. But that stuff is obsolete now. So now we have that information at our fingertips. So now with AI, so instead of now when you have look, I don't know how to put these words together to say this email, to say this thing, or to do this proposal to help give me the best chance to do a thing. So if I have a tool to help me do something, I'm gonna use the tool, right? I'm not gonna use the primitive way that we used to screw or used to, everything was a hammer and nail. Then screws are more efficient when you use certain things. Okay, so then you have a screwdriver. Then you went to a power drill. I'm not gonna go like, if I have a drill, I'm not using a screwdriver to put in 100 screws into a thing. And if you look at like, you'd be surprised if you put together a big something from like IKEA or something. You understand how many screws some of these things have. Like you can have close to 100 screws any given time. And you don't understand, like, that's just technology. AI is no different. So people need to not be afraid of it, embrace it. It can never replace the human component. It just can make the human work more efficiently and more effectively for you to do more things. Now, people need to embrace it and say, okay, well, how can I use this to make me more marketable, to make me more efficient? This gives me the ability to learn more skills very quickly, to analyze a thing, to be able to present. So the human component would never, that's the thing. Now, when you talked about from the energy standpoint, there are trade-offs like with anything else. One of the trade-offs is that right now, the way that it works with data centers, it consumes a lot of energy. So you need you need to have a data centers to deal with these servers that need a lot of water to keep things cool. So it's really the cooling of things. But that is, again, over time, you're going to continue to have things that will solve that problem. And you can use AI to even help you solve that problem. Like, it's so many things to where it's great to have. It's just what people focus too much on. And they focus too much on what they don't want. But what people fail to realize, whatever you focus on,
what you think about,
you're going to get it.
Yeah, so
focus on what you want instead of what you don't want.
Well, and this doesn't pertain to the energy issues potentially tied into AI, but we've talked about it before, and a lot of people don't think about it because I said it to the woman, who was monitoring that AI checkout, is that I said, the problem is, like, there's 2 of you in here. Because of this AI, there would be 4 of you in here making money. But I said, you get your paycheck and you go out and spend it at a pizza joint and at a coffee shop. Whereas that AI technology is not a consumer. So that is what we need to figure out, where I'm all for AI, but for those jobs that it is replacing, you're actually replacing consumers. And so as long as these people go out and find work and remain consumers, but that's kind of my concern with it. When you see AI, I agree. Efficiency is huge. So if you're the business owner, it makes perfectly good sense. You don't have to pay. You pay for the machine, and then you don't pay them an hourly wage. And again, the problem with that is that machine is not a consumer to the overall economy, which is what is important about having a job and going out and spending that money. So I think, again, Fresh, go ahead.
I about to say, here's my pushback there. So here's my pushback there is this. It's the difference between AI and automation, right? Certain things we have automatic tellers. We have less. You go to the bank. It used to be, I remember and being in New York, a lot of stuff is grand. I remember it used to be the Dime Savings Bank building across the street from where I live. It was a huge bank, grand. You've seen movies were shot there. And a lot of the probably movies you saw with, with the cops, robbers, these big things in New York. A ton of those things, right? That's not a thing anymore, right? You go into banks, it might be like, I don't remember the last time I've seen more than 3 tellers at a bank right? And when you have tons of ATMs. But I remember a time when it was a dozen, it was over a dozen like things. So those things, certain things become automated. Now AI aids in the automation, and that's fine. But here's the thing where people have to pay attention. Right? You want someone to have a good job and have a living wage and do those things. What has to happen is the same thing that's happened throughout history, right? We've had different revolutions. You had the Industrial Revolution. We had tech booms. We had different things. Those things created more jobs, but certain things are tried and true, will never change, right? Things that deal with, the AI creates more jobs, but things that deal with, say plumbing, and things that deal with electricians, things that deal with these things never change. And those are where we have deficiencies, right? We have deficiencies. It's over the next, 5 or 6 years, you need, I think just electricians alone is over 600,000 just to replace, just to sustain certain things. So you have to have a shift, right? We know some people, everybody wanted to be like back in, maybe let's just say if a lot of women were focused on being seamstress. But then people start wearing dresses. They started having the industrial press change that. Okay, now you don't be a seamstress. Guess what? You went from being a seamstress to go work in the factory. So you have to make the shift. Okay, so where are the jobs? Focus there. People pivot all the time, right? People
That's part of life.
All 3 of us can attest this, and I'm speaking up for it. You can tell me if I'm wrong. Are any of us using our degrees to do what we using our degrees to do?
Not a single person is.
Right?
Hey, I have a degree in psychology and I understand everything about the human brain because of it.
That's the perfect degree for your business. Absolutely.
Don't ask me my final GPA.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
So you get
it doesn't matter.
Is we have to you have to pay attention, right? Don't pay attention to what matters.
Relevance.
Okay, this is what I want. I want these things, especially most people are money motivated. Okay, yeah, you can work at the supermarket, right? But those jobs are going out. See the writing on the wall. Don't hang on to something that's already changing. It's happening. There's nothing you can do about that. Okay, so well, you can literally just Google and look up what new jobs that AI that the introduction of AI will create for. And you could go as detailed as people with a high school diploma, people with no degree at all, and There's tons of them. So there's tons of them, and there's tons of them open right now. Just shift, right? You got to change its mindset. Change your mind from the only job I can get. No, you could work from home and make more than a doctor, right? So and you didn't have to spend 12 years in school, just to become a doctor.
Right.
Of something you didn't have to do all that. True. So here's the thing. So get familiar with it, right? And then once you're familiar with it, understand how to use it for your good and for the people that you care about good as well. Right. So you don't just want to put yourself on that you understand what to do. You want to put the other people on too, the people around you, so that everybody can eat. Everyone can do well. So for me, I'm excited because it creates so many other opportunities. Just look at and again, I'm no more special than anyone else. I just pay attention to trends that are happening and say, you know what? I'm not going to let this deter me from what I need to do. Oh, there's an opportunity here. Oh, so you mean to tell me there's so many companies, and we're just in one niche and one industry right now. So nonprofit. So there's people in the nonprofit space that need AI help and assistance and know how to use it. Guess what? There's also in real estate. There's also in service-based businesses. So guess what? You already know that's what's coming down the pike. So we're starting in one area, right? My wife's brainchild want to feed the things where she has talents and gifts and abilities, grow and build there. And then guess what? I'm already working on these other areas. So it's happening. So you have to utilize it to do things you need to do, right? And instead of saying, "Oh, it's taking my job to check out groceries." Nah, checking out groceries should have only been a temporary thing for you in the first place.
That's right. That's right. And honestly, I think the other thing that I want to go back to that is concerning about AI is that same word we talked about, how important authenticity is. Can I tell you how many Instagram posts that you look in the bottom left and it says AI created and you're like, oh, good thing, because that's crazy. So, I mean, that's where, okay, what is real? And we've had it in real estate for years, dude. Like, oh my gosh, this home is nothing like the pictures. Right? We hear it all the time. Well, now, and we've had to create rules in our MLS system because you got guys putting up AI photos and it's not even the room. Like there was one that the actual house has a terrible, I would say like the same color in our names on this show here, that turquoise, which I don't mind as a color, but when it's an entire room, it's like, whoa. And so they had that picture of the actual room, but then they had an AI enhanced photo. And it's like, hey, dude, just paint your room. Like you don't need an AI photo because somebody's going to show up here, think that tan room that was in that nice picture is the home, and it's not. So even with AI, I think my biggest concern is deciphering authenticity and what's real and what's not. And Fresh, listen, dude, I hear you. It's totally different as far as systematic usefulness and accurate data. But there is that component, like we talk about, the human component is those of us receiving the information and now trying to figure out, is this real or is this another AI production? And again, I know we're kind of talking apples and oranges, but it's just one of those things that, like anything else, dude, a brick can be used to destroy windows and storefronts. It can also be building churches, right? It's just like money. Money can be blown, used for bad things, or used for good and charity. So, you know, I mean, I think, again, it's how we utilize our resources. But man, think about 2026. We are living in such a great time with so much information, so much opportunity, and you still have cats like who was OBJ? Who was the guy complaining about only having 20 million in his bank account? Like, bro, come on, dude. Like, there is a major separation of reality just in that perception. And so, again, going back to these original kids making six figures in NIL and then getting into this real world that we're in, and it's like, yo, you can make six figures. It is not as easy as going out and intercepting a football, in my opinion.
We're going to play one more video from our sponsor, good old James Whitfield, and then I have one last question for you. Finally, we have James Whitfield of Luther James Insurance. For the last 3 years, James has dedicated himself to the art of financial services. He specializes in life insurance and insurance policies. He will save you money, make you a boatload of money, and do so tax-free. He also specializes in retirement planning because we know the stress that goes into thinking about retirement. How much am I going to need? For how long? Do we have enough? Because fear of the unknown is real. To contact James, go to www.lutherjamesinsurance.com. All right. So we had been talking about AI, and currently there are many AI companies that you can invest in right now on Wall Street. And basically AI driven spending, and because people are putting money into it because it's boosting their businesses. However, people are expecting a second wave of inflation and the market to drop significantly because of this, because some of these products that people are investing as far as AI goes are not going to end up turning out as good as advertised. And there are, especially investors we've talked about, they have concern that there could be a second wave of inflation and how it would affect pricing power. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that because of the AI boom, we could see a second wave of inflation and the market drop significantly, Laban?
I don't think you're going to see a boom. It's never because of any one thing, or even a second recession. I think one of the things that I heard that I liked in the way of real estate, because we've talked about lower interest rates, and I don't know if I mentioned this before, but capital gains, like for your personal residence, is 500,000, right?
Right.
And think about the inflation, which created appreciation in values to homes. So now these people, let's say your home was worth 750,000. If you sold it, you would pay capital gains on 250 of that. Well, now 4 years later, your home is not worth 750. It's worth 1.25.
Right.
So now you're going to pay 750,000 in capital gains. So maybe if they would decide, based on inflation over the last few years, let's take capital gains from 500,000 to $1 million. And now, if your home in our area, nice $750,000 home, I'm paying nothing in capital gains. Now, the home that was worth 750 and now 1.25, they're still going to pay capital gains on 250,000, but now they're more likely to sell their home, right? And in the game of real estate, we need these top end sellers to sell, because real estate, it's not a pyramid scheme, it's a move up buyer, right? So when these sellers at 1.2 sell, it's an $800,000 seller that buys their home. And then that $800,000 seller sells their home to a $550,000 seller. That's an $800,000 buyer. And then that $550,000 sells to somebody that was in a $300,000 home. And now first-time home buyers have something to buy. So we tend to talk about interest rates. And again, this may not be how AI has affected it, but will we go into another recession? I don't necessarily think so, but every market is good for someone. And so if you're someone, and that's where I'd like to say in the last 2 years, I became a seller with my investments because it was a seller's market. As it's beginning to shift, decide, is it time to start buying? Should you still sell something, or do you ride some of this out to see if there is inflation again, to where now, again, inflation creates value in most commodities, right? So I think that's where I don't have a crystal ball. If I did, I'd be in Aruba. But the market is continuing to shift. We're just not seeing the same rapid increase in value. So I don't know if that predicts the market at all, or whether or not we'll be in another recession. But I can tell you, regardless of what happens, and if the market tanks, there will be buyers and sharks out there acquiring, knowing that the market will again shift and uptick. I don't know if I answered that.
Fresh, what are your thoughts on that?
Restate the question. I think I was listening.
Well, it's just about, a lot of people are investing in AI, and there's a fear that because of that, some of these companies could fail to come through on their promises. And with the money that's being invested, there could be, investors fear a second recession coming, or a second wave of inflation coming because of AI.
Yeah, I was making sure I heard, because I heard recession and inflation. I was making sure which one you were.
Yeah,
right, you kind of mentioned
they were
both.
tied together.
So I would say, I mean, and I don't know if it's the second way. All right, like you got inflation going on right now. I mean, you think it's going to get
exactly
worse than what it is? I mean, yeah, I think it possibly, but as Laban mentioned, it's really never one thing. It's not like all right, it's never really one thing. I think. Well, historically, it hasn't been one thing. I think where we're heading, unfortunately, as a country, on other fronts, I think it's pushing us it's forcing us into a very like worrisome state. Like it's a lot of people worried about where we're headed. And when people are afraid, they do some very you do some very, very interesting thing. Like because people are just concerned about like they try to save certain things. They try to make sure they pull back on the things that they do, right? I'm not buying a home that my forever home if I don't know what's happening with the market, right? I don't know what's going on. I don't know how things are moving, right? I don't know. But what we can do is pay attention. The strength of the dollar is going down. And it's going down.
Yeah, it is
steadily going down. And our country is we're pissing people off that we have relationships with, that we trade with, and that we that help give our dollar strength. But they've
been smoking us to a certain extent. I mean, on tariffs and things like that, we have been getting smoked in the past, to where even cats that are absorbing that tariff have said, yes, we absorb the tariff ourselves, but the fact that our competitors now have to pay their fair share to a certain extent.
They're not. Like no competitor. It's just like anything else. This is when you deal with like products, commodities, and things like that, or anything like that's being like when you tariff something, right? And it's like something that essentially we need. When you tell me this, no one can tell you. You know what happens in the back office or in your private meetings at Marsh & Marsh. You guys know that. I don't know that. I don't know what's happening inside. The sellers or the actual seller buyer, they don't know what the workings are and what happens. They don't know, right? Just like we can sit here and be like, oh yeah, they're I can listen to someone telling me that they're paying their fair share, but I also can know that when I go to the store, I got two things I'm fighting against. Right? When I go to pick up products, commodities, I know that it's more expensive and I know that it's smaller, right? So I know I'm getting less of a thing.
Shrinkflation.
Yep. I got shrink. I'm dealing with, shrinkflation.
That's what that is.
Yep. But I'm also dealing with inflation. So I'm dealing with things that cost more and it's less. So I got two things working against me. And you're still trying to convince me that my dollar is still as strong as it was when the numbers, like you said, data is data.
Yeah, I know. I don't think anybody's trying to convince you it's stronger than it is.
No. Yes, we are. We're being told that the economy is the strongest it's ever been, and Yes, we are. We're being told that the economy is stronger as it's ever been.
I would agree that the economy is substantially stronger than it was under the previous administration.
It's not. So here's the thing.
How is it not?
No, you can look, because you look at the numbers.
People say that
that's data.
And this is why you look at the numbers. So also when you have data that's being manipulated, right? So when they had the jobs report, they put the jobs report and they put out they don't put out all the numbers. So if you look at the jobs report throughout history, let's just say if it has 21 items, I don't know exactly how many items. Let's say if it has 21 items that give a full story of everything, but then the new jobs report is only say it only has 14. It leaves out things so that it helps your argument that this is what's happening. But it's okay. Well, what about these other things? Well, don't pay attention to that. We'll address that later. So those things can't fly. We can't be naive to say, well, if historically this is how our information is disseminated, but you're stopping the information from getting to us. And you leave these things out, or we do have the information, but when we put that in, those numbers don't look to be exactly what you're saying. So you can't say, hey, this is how it is. This is how it's been historically done. I'm going to adjust how it is so it can fit my narrative. And then you try to tell me that this is a great thing. It's not. So if this is how it simply is. We going right back to it. We're paying higher prices for less things, right? And for those things, a lot of those things, we become more more of a consumer country than a production company, right? We don't produce
Exactly.
as much as we used to. So now we're relying on these things, and then you're trying to say, "Oh, no, this person is paying as well." No, they're not. I'm telling you, because when someone that looks into textiles and orders things and does stuff like that, just so if you go a year and a half ago, if I try to order something in bulk from like Alibaba, let's just say, right, it had taxes, it had tariff, it had stuff on it, but the tariffs wasn't as high. So if you try to order something on somewhere like from a different place, just give you an instance. Let's just say if I order something, it's $500. The tariff, the shipping and everything, and all of the shipping and handling, all of the information that goes on in addition, just to get it to me, is $800. When it used to be $100. You got to make it make sense. So who's paying the tariff? They're putting it on me. Oh, I need to pay $800 for something that costs $500, and then I can't get it in the U.S. because the U.S. doesn't make it. So you can't sit here and be like, "Oh no, the economy is doing great." No, because the real people that's actually spending their money on the day-to-day things, doing the stuff, you can't lie to them because they see it. It's happening. Where
I don't disagree. I don't disagree, but the idea that it's just stemmed in the last year or two. I mean, it was.
That's what you get. It has. I was just
dude.
This morning.
Is the rate of inflation over the last 10 years. 2016, 1.3. 2.1 in 17, 2.4 in 18, 1.8 in 19, 1.2 in 2020, 7.0 21, 6.5 22, 3.4, and now 2.9.
Yeah. So again,
that's data.
But look,
I'm not saying how you and I feel.
No, it's not. No, that's not how you feel. But for two things you got to do. One, you got to look at the source of the data, right? I just see you just pull up Google. That is backed by something else. That I saw the big G next to it. So
yeah, it is Google.
Like so, but when you
want me to go chat GBT?
No, you don't have to go to like the census. So the census. So if you're pulling it from the census, where the data originates from, and if you look at the sources for what's provided it. So if historically, again, if it provided the information from say again, if it said if everything was derived from 21 sources, but now it's shrunk down to 14 because you eliminate stuff. That's not right. We're being manipulated to believe that something is moving in a way that it's not really moving. So you got to pay attention to that stuff too.
This is the Inflation Council, and if you look at their graph,
the Inflation Council. I just want to be, and again, I can't say. I just want to know
the Census Bureau. When I go back, it's the Census Bureau.
Okay, is again when you say it's the Census Bureau, just make sure is that a .gov on the back of that? I can't see your screen. Or is it a .gov or is it .com?
Let me see.
Just look. Just
inflation calculator. I don't have my readers on, dude.
Yeah, but is it just the N? Is it a .gov or is it a .com?
It says .com, U.S. inflation. Okay, so I'll go to the government one.
So again, it's a .com. That's so
there you go. Here we go. This is a .gov.
Okay.
Okay. Wow. Exact same chart, dude.
Again, I can see it. I see the chart you're telling me, but again, we can't prove that now. But I think again, we're saying it's two things we're saying. For one, we have inflation, right? And then he also talked about whether we're going to go through another recession or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say inflation is a part of it. We know that we're going through it right now. A part of the question was, is it going to be a second round? Very possible.
We're going through what? Well, inflation is down over the last few years.
Yeah, it's down, but we still have significant.
We've always had 2% inflation, 1.5.
Yeah. So it's different to have. So again,
and it depends what industry you're in as well.
Yeah,
but
it also depends. But look, but listen. So you tell me this. Historically, we just go by the system that we have. Something simple that people could know. Beverages. When we have what you remember beverages growing up, right? A pint. Right? What's that? 16 ounces, right?
No, that's a quart, I think.
No. A quart is 32 ounces, right? So we had a quart, a pint, a quart is 32 ounces, a half a gallon is 64 ounces, right? And then a gallon is 128 ounces. We just kind of go simple, just simple like that, right? If you just look historically, we were always told to go get a half a gallon of something most of the time. Go get a half a gallon of milk, half a gallon of ice cream, half a gallon, you know what I'm saying? It was just, I'm just deal with a half a gallon. You tell me, you go look at your refrigerator now. I would go, if you have orange juice in there, I believe it's not a half a gallon. And I remember it's not half a gallon. It's going to be like 52 ounces or 59 ounces, right? If you just had to, what would the standard be? So if you're trying to tell me that, and that's happening across the board. I'm just using beverages because we all consume beverages.
Yeah, that goes back to that shrinkflation.
Yeah, but but shrinkflation is not being factored in to the inflation. And here's why. Here's where I'm going with it. So if you're trying to say, like, if we're using the same for same, like what we paid for, what cost $1 back in the day, and we know the dollar, you know, it's already shrunk. But let's just say what it costs for a half a gallon of something 15 years ago is not the same that we're paying for now. So if I'm paying what I paid for a half a gallon for 15 years ago is now the same cost for something that's half of what that is. So if I'm paying, so like a carton of orange juice back in the day probably was $2. It was $2 for a carton of orange juice, right? That's a half a gallon of orange juice. Now it's probably closer to $4. But I'm not getting a half a gallon. I'm getting 52 ounces.
You get less, yes.
I'm getting 52 ounces. So, but those reports are saying like the cost of goods sold. So they're going by the cost of goods sold, and but they'll go from saying
they're not including how much of that they're selling.
Yeah, but it's how much of
that's what I mean. I know what you're spending, but what you're receiving for what you're spending is less than what it was 5 years ago.
Yes, but they're totally measuring, but they're still measuring as if it's the same standard from like 10, 15, 20 years ago, but it's not. So if it said, so let's just say the report say a carton of milk will cost this, like they report a carton of milk, but a carton of milk is not the same. So a carton of milk is not, again, the milk might be different, but I'm just go by orange juice. So if it's a carton of orange juice is a certain thing. If a carton of orange juice used to be $2, and I used to get 64 ounces, but now I only get 52 ounces. It's not the same. But they're reporting as, it's just a little bit of inflation. No, I'm fighting inflation of it's going to cost more anyway, but I'm getting less. And that's what's happening. You're giving me less and costing more, and then you're reporting the numbers as if it's the same as it was.
It's the same, yeah.
But it's not. Even a carton of a pack of cigarettes. Cigarettes, and again, and I don't smoke.
But you're making it sound like the inflation number should be substantially higher, as if it's skewed down.
Yeah, that it's probably it should. Well,
but it would be skewed down every year. Regardless of what it is, they use the same formula throughout. I hear what you're saying.
So they use the same formula, but they move again. But it's like they're moving the goalposts. It's like you saying, "All right, you
only have to get to the 5-yard line until the goal line."
Kick from the numbers instead of kicking from the hash. And it's like, how do you want me to make that? Like I can, but it's different. It's way more difficult. And you're saying, well, okay, we still miss it the same rate. No,
yeah, but even in real estate is no different than lumber. And I think going to that point of the orange juice, what happens is in a challenging economy where the inflation has gone up and now they have to increase their prices of material, as the economy improves, how often does that material come back down? Never. Right. I don't care if it's orange juice or lumber. And so that's where the stabilization of the economy is what we need, not this volatility, because to your point, I'm not getting the same sheets of plywood for what I was spending 5 years ago. And that because of the price of oil. I mean, because that's how it transports to get it there. So gasoline prices were substantially higher a few years. I mean, that's where there's no one answer. But
no, you're right. But here's the only thing I just want to just kind of add to that. I'm not going to be long with it. It's just think about it. You're still getting, if you're ordering lumber, you're still getting it by the measurement that it was. A 2x4 is a 2x4.
Back in the day, a 2x4 was a dimensional 2x4. Now it's 1 3/4 by 3 and.
Are you saying that that's what's changed now too?
Oh, yeah. Listen, I'm telling you right now, and this is where, not to go too far off on a tangent, but the city of Erie has an overabundance of housing based on its population. But here's the problem.
Yeah.
When we talked about this, the urban sprawl, the homes in the suburbs are not built with the same quality of material these homes that were built 100 years ago. Because 100 years ago, the material was a 2x4 and not a 1 3/4 by 3 3. So the quality of material is different, and yet you're still paying substantially more than what you paid for the actual good
that is supporting the point that we're saying. I
don't disagree, but there has to be a baseline, and that's where on this census data, the baseline has to be utilized the same regardless of shrinkflation. The fact that you're selling as much orange juice as you used to sell, but instead of selling 5 billion gallons, it's only 3 billion gallons because you put them in smaller jars.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
You're counting the jars, not the ounces.
Yeah, but is that not manipulation? The same thing when you're talking about the wood.
That's my going back to my concern for AI and even for our local agents saying, I'm number one. It's like, well, you're number one in what, dude? Did you have the most sales, the most volume, the most units? Yeah. But again, this is where, and you even asked, show me, is that .gov? Show me the bot. Where are they getting this data from?
Yeah,
right.
That's what I'm saying.
So again, I don't disagree. And there is hundreds of ways to manipulate the information. And that's where you have to decipher through the noise of what is really impacting us.
Yeah. And you know what? And again, and I'm glad we're on this topic. And that's where AI can level the playing field for us. Because now we can get ahead of the nonsense. We can get ahead of when people tell you certain things are happening when it didn't really happen. That's why you have people who would do certain things and lie about what really happened. You have almost everybody who has a camera in their hand and you can see what happened. You can't sit here and lie, right? You can't lie about, oh, this is what's going on. When people go, well, I actually have access to the data, that's not what happened. But then you have people, unfortunately, you have government officials that be like, well, no, that's not really happening. Or they just try to shoo away the question. You're not trying to listen to what I'm going to say. Look, next question. Like, don't do that, right? We have things, constitutional rights, like the free press. All of these things are being disrupted, like and just not even disrupted, are being ignored. Like our certain freedoms, a lot of our freedoms are under attack. Like it's just like you got certain things that's crazy. And I think, believe it or not, AI can help level the playing field when it comes to certain things, because for one, you can't hoard the information anymore because we have access to it. And then we have access to it at quantum speeds. So I can get access to this information as fast as you can try to lie about it. I can debunk it because I have a quantum computer in my hand and I can say, that's not right. Like, that's not right. According to this report, this is not true. Or when, when they would talk about like what's happening, legally with some of the legal standards and certain people, like certain offices being closed, certain people like a U.S. Treasury person trying to remove someone from a U.S. Treasury official. When it's like, you don't have the power to do that. It's like, you're just doing things you shouldn't be doing. So my thing is, if we had AI doing that, I would be all with you saying, oh, this is crazy. I have root for concern. But I think, you know what? This is a tool that allows us to say, hey, we can call people out on their stuff. We can use it to help us learn more, become bigger, faster, stronger, and to learn other skills, apply it to other industries and jobs, and move around and even grow our stuff a lot faster. I think it's a total game changer. But again, going back to the question that you asked, Steve, I know we both went back and forth with it.
Yeah.
No one thing does it, right? No one thing is going to kind of increase inflation. I think we've gotten to where we've gotten to because we've allowed, just like how people, do Ponzi schemes and do things where you have people who used to steal, like they have ways, a lot of people have been in prison for these like kind of, white collar crimes where it's stealing like, 1 or 2 cents, but it's stealing 1 or 2 cents from 300 million people, right? So when it does that, so now over the years, it just chipped away at things to where in our economy, to where we are just kind of like, okay, well,
do we go back? We can't go back to what happened years ago. We got to address it now. And we're trying to just address a bunch of fires that we can't just focus on one thing. And it's so frustrating and disheartening, because you have good common people who are just trying to live and trying to make a good living, doing some good things. But they're not focused on AI. They're not looking at what's happening. They hope and assume and trust that their government is going to do right and do the right things and put them in place.
Don't do that.
Yeah, but
don't do that.
But I know you're saying don't do that. But understand, Labe, you have also said, like, well, you should just let the people that have the positions do what let them do their job and you do yours, and trust that they're gonna do that. You mentioned that before. If someone's in power, like
government officials,
like, let the I forgot which offer. You was like, let them do their job. Don't meddle in what they're doing. Just do your thing. Do what you. I was like,
no. Yeah. I'm saying, that in regards to the government officials who should be taking care of the people that are simply stealing and listen, and not to go too far off base, like Sean Ryan, Seal was called out by Dan Crenshaw. But listen, Dan Crenshaw, we would like to know how you went in with $174,000 salary and came out with a few million as a congressman. Like, that's a legit question, right? So I don't care what side of the aisle you on. Like, right is right and wrong is wrong. And where I don't think we are, like, that was my point. Like, I think these people need to stop taking care of themselves and taking care of everybody else, but we know that's not how it works. So you have to take care of yourself and mind your own business. But in that regard, I'm not saying trust the people in God. I'm saying they need to be accountable to the process and the position, not to me, because I didn't vote for you. Like, you should still be doing the right thing for the general public if you're in that role as a politician. And we know that's not how it happens. And I'm calling out Dan Crenshaw, just like what Pelosi or anybody else. Like, how do you get in there with an $80,000, $150,000 salary, and now all of a sudden, a few years later, you're a millionaire? Share that with us. Tell us. Don't keep secrets. Let us know how we can do that. Which then puts me to the final point. The bigger concern about the stock market, in my opinion, is the fact that the tax rules are such that the largest group of people in baby boomers are about to get to the age where the government says, hey, I don't care. You have to take your money out now. I know you've been enjoying all your interest earnings, but you are of the age where you now have to get out so we can get our tax dollars. And that is something to cause for concern for the overall stock market, is that those of us who are younger and just put our money in and let it work, well, it might appear as though the stocks are crashing because you'll have so many baby boomers based on the age, and in the near future here, if not already, the largest generation has to pull out of the market based on tax laws.
Wait, is that an adjustment to the tax law? Like, what is that?
No. I'm saying, like, what is it? You can start pulling from your 401k as at 62 and a half, but then by 70, you absolutely have to. I don't know the age range, but there is, without a doubt, at some point you have to.
So you have like a, you saying you have like a, what's that? Like
there is a cap. Yeah.
You have a window?
I'm sorry?
There's a window? You mean like from 60,
right.
You got from 62 to like 10 years?
I don't know if it's 69 or 70 where you have to start pulling your money out because Uncle Sam wants your tax dollars. Now, if you pass, they're going to get it anyways. But there is, and Kiyosaki talked about it. I think he thought it was going to happen closer to 2016, and maybe that was part of the, right before the pandemic. But just the fact that you have the population-wise, the largest investment group within the stock market is baby boomers, and again, I don't know if it's tax law, investment rules, but Uncle Sam needs you to liquidate at a certain point so that he can get his tax dollars.
So I just want to be clear. It's a difference between needing you to and forcing
requiring you to. Yeah. No, requiring. And that's not to say you can't invest in the stock market. I'm just saying there are rules that for certain programs where you have to pull at a certain age. And I'll look it up through a .gov source so that I have it accurate for you, Fresh.
No.
I now know Google is insufficient.
Yeah. So no,
I don't blame you.
again, I didn't know. See, look, I didn't know. Again, this is one of those things where, like, we can lean on each other and have understanding of things better. Because I didn't
I
even
don't know everything.
That was the thing. All I just know, I'm not a big fan of like, like 401ks and all those things like that. I think there's other investment tools you can use, but I am a fan of you taking advantage of as much as you can. Like if you work for an employee that offers you a 401k and they do matching and stuff like that, you take advantage of that as long as you can. But then at some point you should be converting your things over to like a self-directed IRA or something like that, to where you can have more tax benefits to take care of stuff.
Don't criticize me for Google, but it says age 73, 75, RMDs. You must start taking mandatory withdrawals, required minimum distributions from your traditional 401k once you reach age 73 or 75 for those born in 1960 or later, starting in 2033. There's a rule of 55. So yeah, look in your 401k and it says you can start withdrawing from your 401k penalty free at age 59 and a half, but the IRS offers exceptions like the rule of 55, leaving your job in or after the year you turn 55 for penalty free access. And you must take required minimum distributions starting around age 75, though you can delay RMDs if you're still working for the plan sponsor. So that is, again, certain 401k rules that are going to make certain people, primarily the baby boomers, shift the market, where I heard it as it's going to appear as though the stocks are crashing, but what it really is all these boomers required to get their money out. So
that's interesting. You know what? Because what makes it interesting, because a lot of the boomers, unless they change jobs, careers, wouldn't be in that, like, because a lot of them worked for companies that had pensions, which I know they shifted, or a lot of them are self-employed. Like we have a lot of boomer business owners. Like that's one of our businesses. We acquire boomer businesses. So it's not even, it's one of those things where I think it could happen. I don't know how much it is the biggest problem, but I don't know how many of them are like in 401ks to where they,
but listen, I mean, when it changed from the, you could define benefit contribution where the company was matching so much, and now the 401k was created to where you had to have the self-discipline in a company that contributed for you. There's a lot of people that had access to 401k that did not contribute, right? So I'm not saying it's going to be a major ruffle up, but it is something to keep in consideration, the fact that the people that have most of their money in the stock market via their 401k, teachers, I mean, these pensions and all these different systems, where if there's a shakeup in that stock market, it is going to reverberate through so many of these 401ks and different things like that. So again, I don't know everything, but I know I've heard something from a decent source. What's that?
I was saying, I mean to interrupt. Formerly, as a former educator, I didn't have a 401k. They didn't offer us 401ks. They offered us something called a 403b.
Okay. It might be different for.
It's a little different. I think it's along the lines. It was different. I don't know what the designation was. They would tell us it's like a 401k, but it's not a 401k.
Right. Yeah, it's probably.
There's a lot of educators, which is a lot of people that have something that's not a 401k, that's like a 401k, it's a 403b. Yeah, and those things are like when I retired, I moved all my stuff over to a self-directed IRA. Yeah, and which I use, again, Wealthfront. I mentioned before, I sent you a link on it, Steve, to share with viewers. Like Wealthfront is like, it's a great place to kind of like self-direct, manage your money. You can tie everything in. It helps you to, it puts out like, lets you know where your net worth and everything is, because you can put everything in there, and it's kind of it's all kind of, everything is in one place. You can put all your bank accounts, you can put your life insurance policies, you can put your money market accounts. Everything can be tied in there to where it's like, that's where you have everything in one place that you can see it. Right. And you can also, and they manage up to a certain amount, and they'll manage up to whatever you put in there. But you can have, I think when we first started, we got our first, like, this is many years ago, like our first like 30 to 50 grand managed for free. And then now what's good and when now they manage, obviously whatever we have in there. But what's good about them is that they're fiduciary. And maybe this is something we can touch on later.
Results matter
between a fiduciary and like someone who is a financial advisor, right? A financial advisor who, in many cases, they're incentivized to sell you products because they make money off of how well your money does and how many products you're in and things like that. But a fiduciary, it's a set amount, right? It's like they make like 1.5% off of your whole portfolio. That's it. No matter what's in it, out of it, or whatever. Like as long as they're managing it, like, and I would strongly encourage people to research and know the benefits of having a fiduciary to manage your money over just a traditional wealth management person.
Yeah, and listen, as a real estate broker, literally, and a licensed real estate agent, we have a fiduciary responsibility to the general public. Like you take a code of ethics. Like again, people skirt it, but yeah, I mean, you want to work with people who have a fiduciary interest and a higher calling, in my opinion. But that's really good stuff. Great information, Fresh. And again, I'm humble enough to know I don't know everything, but I know I'm not crazy enough that I've heard a few things, and it's like, I'm all. You got to do the research and the legwork. I don't want to be spitting rhymes that are false. But I think the other thing is there's 100 ways to skin a cat, and so. Yeah, man. Stay positive, support each other, encourage others, and do your research. Do your due diligence, yo. If you don't believe Fresh, me, or Steve, check it out and let us know.
Yeah, and I'll be the first one to support that and tell you the same thing. Due diligence is so important. And do it before, not while you in.
Before you stand on your soapbox.
Do it before and then and I'll continue to keep researching, but make sure you do it before you make the decision to pull the trigger to find yourself in a position to invest in something or to buy something. That's super important.
Well, great show, guys. Great information. Thanks for answering some of the questions. We had a great discussion.
Yeah, that was good.
It was phenomenal. So for Laban Marsh, King of Real Estate, Erie, Pennsylvania. Nedvonne Young, Fresh Fold Laundry Company, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, high-end laundry service, and an entrepreneur extraordinaire. And he is a master of AI. I'm Steve Cully, the best podcast host in the universe. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges, throw them right back at life. And I'm Steve Cully, and I'm running for Congress.